Hi guys, and welcome to today's task. For today's task, I am starting the backfill process. Now, these areas have already been backfilled. I threw a little bit of dirt in them, and we've got them prepped for plumbing. The other place that we are starting to backfill is right here in this room. Now, I have two options. I can either try and get buckets up over that and dump it in, or wheelbarrow it in. That's a lot of wheelbarrows, but that's got to be done because we are doing a lot in the next week. In the next week, we will have plumbing all the way roughed in for the basement. We will have the final grade put on with gravel. We will have the radiant flooring installed, and we will have the French drain put around the house. That's so much in 1 week. Oh, and we're gonna pour the cement pad, so it'll be done. So there's a lot that's going on, and we've got to get it started right now. Remember when we cut a hole in my foundation about 2 weeks ago? This is the start of our plumbing right here. Ed's coming in to give me a perfect clean cut. He's gonna make it look so nice. Well, now it's finally coming to use. That is the exit of our sewer, and we're gonna work our way up to here, to bathrooms and the mech room, and then that 4-inch line is going to continue around to a bathroom over here and to service the upstairs bathrooms as well. But we are using my laser level to get 0 because we base that off 0 and you have to gain 1/4 of an inch, and I'll have a video explaining that in a later date, but that is code and that's what we've had to make. So from that point to there to here is 35 feet, and 35 feet times 0.25 is, class, 8.75. So that's what our math says we've got to be at height-wise. So we've had to dig a little bit out and bring it up to get to here, and then we'll just work from there. Need to go wider just a little bit?
Probably just where the...
Where that neck is.
Yeah.
It almost is already, that's funny. Oh, baby. What do you think, Troy?
I think that's got it. That's what we need to do is probably wrap all this from here to here.
Okay. On all the pipes, they're gonna come up out of the slab of concrete. And because we don't really want concrete bumping against this too much, you have to account for a little bit of expansion and contraction. So this foam gives you a little buffer on that. The tippy top. All right, this is your only chance to drink that water. It's the only time you're gonna want to. So we are at the top of this stack. This is the highest point in the water, and we're gonna fill it all the way up to here because that will create more pressure along these lower lines for us to verify that there's no leaks, no problems. It's called a 10-foot head pressure that we're creating. It's gonna work. Oop.
Can you hear it filling?
Yeah, it sounds like it's getting taller. Have you ever had these bust out like a seal break and all of a sudden all your water's just gone?
Yep.
Oh.
Forgot to glue something.
Well, that's why you do it, so you see.
Yeah.
And that's all the inspector's gonna check, is just if there's water still standing here.
Pretty much.
There you have it. We have full 10 foot head of water pressure on the entire system. And it's holding, there's not a leak of water anywhere. We have pressurized our system, and it has been about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours since we had it fully pressurized. And the sun has been out, and we've been leveling the pipe. We're just kind of packing it in with this little bit of sand and stuff you see right here. And as we were doing that, I was watching all the joints. This joint right here looked a little bit wet. And sure enough, it was leaking. It was actually starting to leak around the entire thing. So it was a faulty joint. And that's why you do that pressurized test, so that you actually see that. And had we not packed it back with like soft, good kind of a sandy gravel, we wouldn't have known that either. Those tests that you do for the inspector are for a reason, so that you can hopefully have some peace of mind knowing that your plumbing is good. Now, total easy mistake. We think we pushed this one in, and this one kind of went pushing with it, so it didn't seat quite all the way. But we've got the parts to fix it, but we did have to kind of pull all the water out, and we're gonna have to refill it and check it again. But in the meantime, we're just gonna glue it back together and call it good. Well, after a small repair, we are watertight. Now, that last leak took about 2 hours to show its face. So I'm going to not count this thing done until, I don't know, end of the day, we'll see. But I was able to refill it once again, and I did it a little bit better. Beforehand, you saw us throwing the water bottles up to each other because the tank was in the back of my truck. But I used buckets this time, had it sitting way up in the air, and had the hose just drop down in. So it was gravity fed, and it filled up so fast. I couldn't believe it. I actually had to jump down and start capping all the heads of the top again. So we are back to having a 10-foot head of water right there, and giving us that PSI that we need to kind of pressurize the system. Holy cow, we have gotten a ton done today. Plumbing is all the way in and ready. We have pulled out a lot of this for grading. It doesn't have to be a perfect grade, because they're gonna come fill it in with gravel, and that'll fill in all the voids, and it's gonna work perfect. And the only thing we've got left to do is just kind of compact it a little bit. I don't want to set gravel on here, in here, or out there, and possibly for any reason have it settle. We're gonna compact it, and that'll pretty much be everything for today. We are working on getting our preparations for pouring a slab, and there are a few things that we have to do first, and one of them is to have all the plumbing in and passed off. Well, it's in, we're waiting the inspector, so he'll pass it off today, so that'll hopefully be done. And then the next is we have to fill everything level with gravel. So we've hired a company that can throw the gravel, so we don't have to hand push it all and move it. It's just too much work. So this guy comes in and it pours it just like a cement truck, but it's dry gravel. It's incredible. In order for the conveyor to throw at that speed, they say they can throw 100 feet. There are actually 2 conveyors sandwiching it and throwing it out. Not only are they bringing gravel for the floor to make it level, but we're also going to be graveling our French drain. That was another one of those opportunities where I don't really want to buy loads of it, have them dumped here, and then have to hand shovel them and move them. Even with the tractor, it's just not that easy getting into the certain parts of the foundation. So we're gonna lay out all of our French drain, and they are gonna bury it with gravel for me. Because of the concrete shortage, we've had to schedule things as tight to a concrete date as we can get. And the date we got was 2 days from now. So we've got a lot to get done in the meantime. So if you are wondering, we are laying down a corrugated 3-inch pipe. And that pipe has a mesh around it, so it keeps dirt and silt out and clay. Then we'll bury it with gravel, 1.5 feet probably of gravel, and then we bury it again with weed fabric before we put the dirt back on it. That way, dirt doesn't come through, water will come through. And this is the one way to keep water out of your house. And if you're wondering why, we sit at the bottom of a hill, so all of that water has to go somewhere. Well, we're gonna try and divert it around the house as much as possible, but what does end up at the house, I want to go away and around the house like it wasn't even here. That's the world's heaviest remote control car. He's controlling that solely by that remote. That is incredible. All right, I have got great news and some, I guess, not as good news. Good news is we passed our plumbing test and we are ready to start backfilling everything and start laying down our radiant flooring. This room is all the way ready for our foam. Speaking of foam, I made a great error, and this back wall is supposed to have a 2-inch insulated foam from the foundation all the way to the top of it as a thermal break. He said it's not the worst thing because we can still put it on the outside, but he did say do not backfill this back wall until he's inspected it. So he needs to inspect that, which I did not know. He was really nice, but he was like, I can tell this is your first build, but things look good. He's like, your plumbing looks like it's professional, which it was. He says the foundation, footing, everything looks really good. He's like, just don't get ahead of yourself. Since we are putting down radiant flooring, we do have an inspection for that scheduled for tomorrow night. So I have one day to get all the foam down, all the radiant flooring down, and call it good. So those tests and engineering, no, and then they are just gonna bury it with concrete. Or those tests, and so it keeps dirt and silt and gravel, or put that on my Christmas list.